Hi, everybody. Good afternoon. Good morning if you're listening in the States. I hope you're all well and managing to cope with the new routines and the challenges that this rather unique period has thrust upon us. I'm hoping that the next 20 minutes or so will give you some idea of how to best support your young children, as well as how you can support yourselves as well in these challenging times. This is a new thing we're trying, so all feedback gratefully received. We're not going to take questions, active questions during the webinar, but please do hop over to our Facebook page, Good Play Guide Facebook page, and ask any questions there. We'll be posting advice and tips for as long as this thing lasts. We're here to help, and all feedback and suggestions gratefully received. I'm going to wave goodbye for you now, and I'll load up the slides and we'll go. So today's webinar, we're looking at benefits of child-led play. Great news for you guys. You're not supposed to be your child's entertainer 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We're going to do something, we're going to help you bring some play into everyday life, but also let the kids lead the play and see, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about why that's so important. We have got some fun educational activity suggestions, as well as using this opportunity to teach some of the sort of softer skills and non-academic things, life skills that kids need. We'll touch a little bit on the importance of looking after yourself and how you can balance work and childcare. And then there's some other bits at the end on supporting, using tech to support yourself, to support each other, and some ideas for resources. All of this stuff is available. All the resources, ideas, information is going to be available on the Good Play Guide website. It's completely free to use, don't need to register. And we're sharing resources. Anybody who is providing free resources for kids we're happy to share those things as well. I've just got a question from somebody on the chat, just asking if this is happening. Can anybody who is on the chat just leave me a message to let me know that you can hear me and that this is working all right? I'm hoping that it is all fine, but if you can see the chat button on the great, thank you. You can hear fine. Great, brilliant. Okay, cool. Okay, so that's the plan. We'll get going. So child-led learning, absolutely brilliant. It teaches children a range of skills as well as what they're learning, because actually what you do when you're letting the child lead, and they spend so much of their time following instructions from grown-ups, that it's really lovely to give them control of things for a while. And what you're doing is giving them a chance to practice their decision-making skills, their initiative, and it fosters their curiosity and keeps them interested in whatever they're doing. If they're engaged with what they're doing, they're going to learn better anyway. And it also saves you from having to think of something for them to do all the time. So allow them to lead, allow them to do the play, and see how good that is, and how it feels for the kids, because they will love that. They feel like they own it. They feel like they're in control, and it does make such a change from having to follow instructions all the time. You can bring education into pretty much anything, and it's just about asking the right questions. Open-ended questions, things like, what do you think? Or how do you feel about this? Or what would you do if it was up to you? Those kind of questions can really spark those discussions. And then you can build in some of the more school-based learning into games, such as construction toys, matching colours, matching shapes, counting, trial and error learning, where, if you're building a tower, how high can it go, and is it more stable if you have a wider base? Those kind of what happens if kind of learning. You can also bring learning into everyday activities, such as things like, doing the washing up or doing the laundry. One of my favourite games with kids of this age is the sock matching game. So you sorting out the laundry, get them to help you, and you play a game of pairs with the socks and match them up. Or you can ball them up and play a game of catch. All of those kind of things can help bring that learning aspect into normal, everyday, playful activities. We're going to look at the early years curriculum, so some of the school-based subjects, and give you some ideas on activities that you can use to keep children engaged with the stuff that they're doing in their school or preschool, so that when they do go back to school, they don't lose their confidence, and they're still engaged with some of the topics that they're going to be covering. So the first one is maths, and the idea here is a bowl of jelly that you hide the numbers in, but it can be anything. It can be sand, it can be sawdust or shredded newspaper, anything. And the idea at this age, what we're wanting is number recognition and some sequencing. So if you've got phone numbers, great. If you haven't, you can make them out of cardboard and just hide them and ask the kids to pull them out. Maybe look at, what happens if you pull two numbers out? Can you arrange them to make, I don't know, say you pull a 1 and a 2 out, if you can arrange them to make a 12 or a 21, pulling the numbers out in sequence. So you have to play in a game where you find a number 1 first, and then you're looking for number 2, and if you don't get a number 2, you have to put it back until you do, that kind of thing. You can hide these numbers around the house as well and do a bit of a treasure hunt. And it's just keeping children familiar with numbers, engaged with numeracy topics, and do it at their own level. But there's lots of ways to make it a fun number-based game. For English or language communication literacy, nursery rhymes are great. Again, at this age, we're looking at improving the clarity of their communication, widening their vocabulary, and the songs and the nursery rhymes are really good fun to do. The nice thing about these as well is if you get the kids active, and keeping them busy and active inside is a challenge. So, that's really important too. So loads of those online, loads of ideas for how to, new ones you can learn. You could even try making up your own as a family, and just, making it fun and something that you can, maybe a rhyme a day or something. That could be a really great way to help kids practice their language skills in a fun and an active way. Understanding the world is again something that they do in their school settings, and this is a lovely little experiment where all you need is a jar of water and some shaving foam and some food dye. Blue is the obvious one, but it doesn't have to be blue. Fill the jar up, put some shaving foam on the top, and drop the food dye into the shaving foam, and it will seep through and create that kind of rain effect. And kids love that sort of thing. You can talk to them about how it happens, why it happens. You can go outside and look for clouds, look out the window for clouds if you're not going outside. And the older children, if you've got older children around too, can sort of do some of the research to explain to the younger ones how it happens or why it happens. But that kind of magical, moment that you get from when kids are sort of doing these science-based experiments can be great. Art and design, very important. It gives kids a release. It gives a way of expressing themselves. And this one I like because it's not particularly messy. You get some different size marbles, a tray, and some blank piece of paper. It can be old scrap paper. It can be the back of an envelope. Doesn't really matter. Dip the marbles in different paints and put them in the tray, and let the children move the tray around and make different patterns. And again, expressive arts and creativity and this kind of stuff is great for kids' self-confidence as well, because they get the confidence of having made something. And if you then put it on the wall or the fridge, or let them put it in their bedroom, they get that reinforcement of them having created something that matters and that people appreciate, which is really good for their self-esteem. It's also really good to take this opportunity to teach them skills that we often don't have time to teach them, in a busy scheduled life. So things like teaching them to tie their own shoelaces. Best way to do that is to start with a dressing gown cord, because it's bigger, so that they can get the motion right. And then as they develop their fine motor control, they'll be able to do laces. But tying that bow is something that they can learn. And you've got the time to practice it. So, help them do things that when they then go back to school, they will feel more confident in themselves. Kids like to be independent. They like to have that agency over their own life. So things like getting themselves dressed, doing up their buttons, eating with a knife and fork, nicely, and being able to maybe sort things out themselves, tidy their own room, make their own bed, whatever it is. Help them develop some of those skills so that they feel more independent and more empowered. And again, that will really help their confidence. Now, we've got some ideas for toys and games that will help develop different skills. And at the Good Play Guide, we advocate a balance. To think of it as a balanced play diet. In the same way that we balance our children's nutrition, we want to balance their leisure time as well and their playtime. And the superfoods, if you like, of the play diet are active, social, imaginative, free, child-led play. Very difficult to get too much of that. They are learning so much from those kind of activities. And whilst the social side of that might be tricky at the moment, it's not impossible. And you can do things via video call, do things with siblings or other people in your house. So making sure that they are getting that one-to-one or face-to-face interaction is important. And at the bottom end of that is the solitary, sedentary, passive stuff. Now that's your sweets and treats of the play diet. And not all screen time is solitary, sedentary and passive. But if it's a mindless, zoned out, repetitive game that the kids are just sitting on the sofa playing on their screens, that is something that you want to limit in the same way that you wouldn't just let them eat chips every day or every meal. So getting that balance right, I think is one of the key things to making sure that kids are thriving during this time. And like I said, there are loads of ideas on how to do all the different types of activities on the Good Play Guide website. So do have a look at that. But here are a few games, toys and apps to develop some of those skills that we're hoping to encourage over the next few weeks and months. So pretend play, absolutely brilliant for kids. It can be dressing up, or it can be small role play with small toys like Playmobil or Sylvanian Families or any of those little figures. When kids are playing make believe, they are developing narrative. They're using their speech and language. Obviously, it's helping their imagination. They often act out things that are relevant to them in the world. So, if they may be playing doctors and nurses, they might want to talk about the coronavirus, and it gives you an opportunity to tell them about that. It develops their social skills if they're playing with other people. And, if you're playing with the small pieces or dressing up and doing up buttons, again, develops their fine motor skills. There's a couple of these. All the ideas and games that we're suggesting here have all been tried and tested by the Good Toy Guide. And our independent children and professionals who do the reviews for us. So they're all, we've personally tested all of these. So we know that they are good examples, but they are just a few examples. There is a lot more on the website. And just to be clear on the integrity thing, nobody's paid to be in this webinar. This is something that we're doing for free to help parents at this challenging time. We're not making any money out of this. So these are just ideas. Like I said, they're not the only options. They're just some things that we think you might find useful. Active play. Now, this is going to be the most challenging for you guys because, really easy to get kids active when you can go out and go to the soft play centre or go to the parks and stuff. And I would say still try and get the kids outside if you can. Keep them away from other people, but getting some fresh air and giving them a chance to get some energy out is going to be really good for them and your sanity. So if you've got a garden, fantastic. If you haven't, even just a walk around the block at a quiet time of the day, maybe you get up early before everybody else goes and you just get that exercise in. But active play can happen inside as well. So again, this Numbers Alive, roll and count and move is great. The gazillion bubbles, bubbles are great to chase around in the living room, or, and it just gets kids off the sofa, moving around, and developing quite a lot of skills, things like hand-eye coordination, balance. Balloons are great for this age as well because you can teach them catching and It keeps kids active. We've got, again, more ideas on that on the website. Construction play, brilliant for a lot of mathematical skill development. We've got a couple of ideas here. The Geomag Magic Cube, they're magnetic cubes. So for kids whose coordination hasn't yet been that refined, it helps them build things without it being too wobbly. So it supports that, and it's you can still knock it over, but it doesn't fall over quite as easily. And these Magforms animal jumble sets, again, great to make these magnetic animals that kids can then use for imaginative role play. But any construction toys are great. And again, like I said earlier, talk to them about counting colours, shapes, sizes, what they're building, what they're using to build it. Even if you're doing some junk modelling, you know, that kind of conversation around the play can be really enriching for kids learning. Creative play doesn't have to be messy. I know when we talk to parents, a lot of parents are a bit sort of, oh, do we have to do Play-Doh and art, junk modelling and messy play? It doesn't have to be messy, but you know, you've got nobody coming around to your house and you're not going to be anywhere. So what's the harm in making a bit of a mess? You're going to have plenty of time to clear it up. So, you know, don't shy away from the messy play. But here are a couple of ideas. You know, musical play. The Magic Touch piano is great. Musical play is a lovely way to boost kids' confidence and expression. If they can learn a simple tune or learn the different types of noises that different instruments make, that's great. And obviously baking is a lovely thing to do with kids at this time. You've got the time to do it. And the Bing Baking app is got lots of great ideas. Team boards and games, absolutely brilliant for family fun. It's great to get the older kids involved as well. Orchard have a lovely range of great board games and puzzles for this age group. Lots of them teach a lot of skills like understanding the world and numeracy and literacy, but generally it's just, you know, they're good fun to play. And the benefit of playing these kind of games is that kids need to learn to win and lose well, and they can do that by copying you. So, you know, those kind of games that you can play, make sure you don't always win and you don't always lose, and vice versa for the kids. So make sure they get an opportunity to see how you win and lose, and then do it gracefully and respectfully. It's also great for things like their social skills, taking turns, sharing, those kind of things, all stuff that will help them in school settings, as well as, you know, developing concentration and attention. And a lot of the games are memory games or a little bit of strategy games. So, and there's quite, if there's a dice involved, then obviously that's numbers. So team games and board games and card games can be great for that. Puzzles are good on their own as well, you know, for kids when they're on their own. The Colour Me Happy Snake, colour recognition and that kind of fine motor control, problem solving. And in a fast-paced world, the games and activities that help kids develop perseverance, concentration, and tenacity, that trial and error and getting it, you know, waiting and trying again until they get it right. And then that confidence boost that they get from completing it, all really good for them. Now, there's some ideas, but it's not all about the kids. This is about helping the whole family thrive. And I know a lot of you guys are going to be working from home, trying to balance that kind of working from home with the children and childcare. And there aren't many sort of 2 to 5 year olds that I know that are prepared to just, you know, respect the fact that you are working and leave you in peace. So there are things we need to do. First of all, set aside a time where you work, and it may be that you need to get up earlier, or if your kids sleep well, or you do stuff in the evening if you can do that. But it's also about, you know, managing it with the other adults in your family. And if you are on your own and you do need some help, while social distancing is important and everything, I don't think there's anything wrong in having a buddy, a sort of isolation buddy, especially if they've got kids the same age. And you just agree that you isolate together, not necessarily in the same house, but you don't see anybody else, but you can help each other and share childcare, share working patterns, and just make it easier for each other. And if you're only doing that with one other person, then you're not enhancing the risk, increasing the risk unfairly. and let's face it, we all have to get through this. Setting up some space in your house that is mummy's workspace or daddy's workspace can be helpful for the kids, because they know then when you're sitting there, then there are some rules that apply. And it may be that they are allowed to watch telly or do something else with that. You set them up and they play with that, and start with small bursts of time. So maybe 15 minutes maximum to start with. Explain to them that you're going to set a timer. You're going to work for 15 minutes. They get to watch 15 minutes of telly, or they can play on their own for 15 minutes, and then give them lots of positive reinforcement if they do that. And then as they get a bit older, or as they get more used to this, you can extend the time a little bit more. But the younger they are, the less able they are, or the less time they're able to occupy themselves. And obviously you still need to be supervising them. So keeping the door open or being in the same room, or being able to see what they're up to is still obviously very important if you've got no other childcare options. And do get, social media is wonderful. Don't feel like you're on your own. Try setting up support groups within your local community. Use social media to share ideas. Do things like virtual coffee dates or virtual play dates where you switch the Skype on. Get the kids to have a chat with granny or other family members on this video conferencing. And that can allow you, again, a bit of freedom to do something else for a while. But we're not meant to be socially isolated. We are social beings. So just because you can't physically be with as many people as you would normally be, doesn't mean that you shouldn't be socially connected. So use the technology, get that support, and don't be afraid to ask for help when you need it. We're all in this together, and we will get through it. There are some resources here. I'm going to put all of these are going to be on the website. So do have a look at goodplayguide.com. But just in terms of other support that's available, there's an app, Make Time to Play, is a great app with lots of free ideas. And if you do want to put some structure into your day, there's Charisma Kids are doing a daily schedule with play ideas and ways to help you thrive. I think again, I'll put the links, all of these links will go on the website. So do just reach out, use whatever resources you can, get what support you can, and good luck with it all. I'm going to stop the webinar now, but please do stop by the website and check it out, and let me know if you've got any feedback via our Facebook page. That would be great. Take care.